I know they're talking about you. And I know it's been getting to you. And I know that things are hard and times are tough. But you know what? I got good news for you. You're totally unstoppable. Ain't no mountain high enough, there ain't no valley low enough, there ain't no ocean wide enough to keep me from my dreams. I fully made up my mind to leave the past behind, seek until I find my destiny. Totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. In the face of every obstacle, I'm moving ahead unstoppable, knowing nothing's impossible if only I believe. I'm reaching for the unreachable, feeling for the intangible, looking for the invisible, because I believe. Totally, I'm totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. Let me tell you now, every obstacle presents an opportunity. Every rock I see a stepping stone. The only limitation is in my imagination. Doesn't matter what they say, I'm gonna do it anyway. There's no triumph without a trial, no gain without the pain, no glory without a story, no might without the fight, no victory without a victim, no message without a mess, no testimony without the testing. So step by step, totally unstoppable, totally unstoppable, totally, 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 you know I'm totally. Wow and wow, good people. God bless you. God bless you. And welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode installment. With me, your host, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the business bishop, live and direct. I am always excited and delighted to be a part of your life and legacy through this ministry, and I want to celebrate. And I want to congratulate each and every one of you that's joining us live. Congratulations. And for those that are going to catch the replays, I love you. Thank God for this great kingdom family. It's just been an epic journey, and I know that we are becoming more and more of who we were designed and destined to be, do, and have. And it's really, really exciting. So those of you that are catching up, you're catching up either because you know that we post regularly, like every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Sunday, or you have subscribed to this channel. And YouTube is notifying you that Bishop Wayne is live, that Bishop Wayne has posted. Whatever the case, subscription is the best policy. So I want to encourage those of you that are just, getting used to us to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and then of course, like the post. If you like the post, like it, not just in your heart, in your mind, but actually click that like button, because that really, really helps us a great deal if you'll click the like button. And I also want you to comment on the post, okay? So leave a comment if it's blessed you, if you had an epiphany,
a light bulb moment, an elevation in your understanding, a revelation, please put it in the comments. And that really is a great encouragement to me personally when I read your comments. So let's do that. I'm also going to say that if we were live and in person, you would probably be making some noise, right? Either like, amen, say that, Bishop, preach, oh my God, that's great. Whatever you would do in person, I want you to utilize the chat box as your virtual voice. Send up fire emojis, heart emojis, hand clapping emojis, absolutely anything that expresses your emotion. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sound effects. All right. I'm going to use my sound effects throughout as we go along. So look, we are in an epic series, an epic series. And it's all about the poverty syndrome, And I've deliberately spelled syndrome, S-I-N, as opposed to S-Y-Y-N. And I've done that because I guess we want to consider the moral and spiritual implications of thinking a certain way. I guess what we are exploring in this particular series is the relationship between our beliefs and our blessings, our beliefs and our behaviors. And I guess we are stating unequivocally that beliefs can block blessings. Like, the devil can't block your blessing. But if he can get you to believe something that is fundamentally a lie, then, of course, he can get you to block your own blessings. So we're looking at the relationship between our psychology and our success. And what we're seeking to do is identify, expose, and ultimately eliminate any self-limiting, self-sabotaging, self-defeating beliefs that may be blocking our blessings, prohibiting our progress, or sabotaging our success. And I call these beliefs syndromes, all right? They're syndromes, okay? Because they, we should be outraged by these things. And we should go to war with them, internally, right? Psychologically. We should simply declare that that way of thinking has no place in my mind, has no place in my destiny. And if I discover it somewhere lurking around in my unconscious, I'm going to expose it and I'm going to eliminate it, because I don't want my beliefs to block my blessings. I don't want my beliefs to prohibit my progress. I don't want my beliefs to sabotage my success. So we've been exploring several syndromes in this series, and tonight we are going in because tonight I want to talk about the entitlement syndrome, the entitlement syndrome, the entitlement mentality. And we're going to expose this tonight as one of those belief sets that absolutely block your blessing, prohibit your progress, and sabotage your success. We're going to explain why it does so, and we're going to do everything that we can to eliminate this particular syndrome. So here's the outline. I'll kick off with some context for the concept. We'll then look at the prodigal son, perhaps the epitome of entitlement. We're going to look at the 7 features of the entitlement mentality. I'm going to talk about the 10 lepers, particularly the 9 who did not return to say thank you. We'll look at the dangers of entitlement. We're going to talk about the 5 foolish virgins, and then we'll look at an antidote to entitlement, and we are going to have an epic night. And if you are excited about it and glad that you tuned in, just shout your amen in the chat box. And here we go. So, context for the concept is just a look at the meaning of the word parasite, right? The parasite. And I'm going to read something, which is Proverbs 12, verse 27, and it reads, "The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious." So right here in this proverb, there is contrast and a difference between the man who roasts what he did not catch in hunting and the man who is diligent in his doings and in his ways, and becomes a man of substance and of precious substance. So here's a definition, a dictionary definition of the word parasite. It is as follows: an organism that lives in or on an organism of another species, that is its host, and benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. Oh, my. Benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. So it lives in and on an organism of another species. Okay, so it identifies and attaches itself to a host, and then it begins to draw from that host nutrients at the expense of that host. That is a parasite. And I guess what we're looking at in Proverbs 12:27 is the parasite, the man who roasts not that which he took in hunting. So he lives in and on someone else's success. He lives in and on someone else's achievements. He lives in and on someone else's sacrifice. He lives in and on someone else's diligence. And he is called a lazy man, a slothful man. So what we're fundamentally seeing in this passage is the contrast and difference between the man who is focused on what he can get out of life and the man who is focused on what he can become in life. Oh, wow and wow. That's a light bulb moment. There is a difference between the man whose focus and obsession is on what he can get out of life and the man whose focus and obsession is on what he can become in life. And so the diligent man became a man of substance, but the slothful man simply wanted to benefit at other people's expense. And this, of course, is the epitome of the entitlement mentality, the entitlement syndrome. People that are entitled, people that feel entitled, people who feel as though they deserve special treatment, special attention, special privileges, people who believe that the world owes them something and get quite angry at the world for not delivering it to them. These people become parasites, success parasites, living in and on an organism of another species, benefiting or seeking to benefit by deriving the nutrients at the other's expense. So, talk about epitomes of entitlement. Perhaps the most obvious is the prodigal son, the story of the prodigal son. And I know that as we read the story of the prodigal son, it appears to be the story of one lost son. But it is in reality the story of two lost sons, and fundamentally it is the story of an amazing father. One of the sons was lost, in terms of his relationship with his father, but the other was lost equally in terms of his own estrangement from his father's heart. The prodigal son is the one that gets the attention in this parable. So let's read it, Luke 15, verses 11 through 13. And he said, a certain man had two sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. Lord, help us all. So this young man, demands, requires that his father give him the inheritance that he would have inherited, at his father's decease. He said, why am I going to wait till my father dies If this is all mine, give me my portion of it now, because I want to take off and do my own thing. So he felt entitled to a portion of his father's success. He felt entitled to a portion of his father's sacrifice. He felt entitled to a portion of his father's diligence. And he required it. And when he got it, because it landed on the wrong mindset, it landed on the wrong attitude, the Bible teaches that he went off into a far country and wasted his substance with riotous living. He wasted it all. So this is the epitome of entitlement. And what we see here is that he demanded his inheritance ahead of his father's decease. He was not content to work for or earn his inheritance. Not content to work for or earn his inheritance. See, the reason why his father's estate, a portion of his father's estate would have fallen into his hands, is because he would have worked the estate, worked alongside his father, and earned the right to inherit a portion of the estate, and earned the right and the responsibility of succession. But he didn't want to put in the work, but he wanted to get a reward. He didn't want to put in the work, but he wanted to get the reward. He felt that he deserved special treatment. He felt that he deserved special treatment, and he tried to live large of someone else's success. This is the epitome of the entitlement mentality, and I want to make it clear that the entitlement mentality will absolutely block your blessing. It will absolutely prohibit your prosperity and progress. It will absolutely sabotage your success and derail your destiny. It will ruin your relationships. It is a syndrome that needs to be exposed, eliminated, repented of, and got rid of, because it has no place in the heart of a kingdom citizen. Yeah. So an entitlement mentality can manifest in various ways, but here are 7 common characteristics that define it. So I'm going to look at the 7 common characteristics that define the entitlement mentality, the entitlement syndrome. And, if the cap fits, okay, if the cap fits, you know what to do. If you can see yourself in any of these characteristics, then that's a good thing. It's a good thing because God is helping you to identify it, expose, and ultimately eliminate, eradicate something that could really be standing in your way when it comes to the creation of generational wealth, when it comes to prosperity, when it comes to abundance, increase, overflow. There could be something lurking at a subconscious level that's prohibiting that kind of progress or sabotaging that kind of success. So we're going to look at these not in an attempt to point at others, but to practice some true introspection, to truly self-audit, to truly look inwards and say, God, if any of this is lurking around in me, I want it exposed, eliminated, eradicated in Jesus' name. Can I hear an amen? So the first is a sense of superiority, which is a sense of importance, of being more important than others. So they may exhibit a sense of superiority, believing that they are more deserving or valuable than others. This can lead to an inflated sense of self-importance and a disregard for the equality and dignity of others. So when a person feels like, okay, look, there's a line here, I can jump the line because I'm more important than everyone else in this line. I can jump the line because my issues, are more urgent than anyone else in the line. I can jump the line because I'm not them. I'm better than them. That is evidence. It's one of the symptoms of the entitlement syndrome. And it really is avoidance of the process that produces your best results. See, everything that promises a great result, a great outcome, everything that promises a great result relies on a process. Okay, God is not just the God of promise, he is the God of process. He's not just the God of provision, he's the God of process. And that's why you'll find every person that walked by faith walked through a process. And there was nothing they could do to rush the process. There was nothing they could do to avoid the process. There was nothing they could do to ignore the process. You ignored the process at your peril, because the God of promise and the God of provision is a God of process. This is why God did not simply pick the Israelites up out of Egypt and drop them in the promised land. He didn't just pick them up and deliver them to the promised land. No, because to do so would have bypassed the process of them losing the slave's mentality and developing the mentality of a leader, of stewards, of managers, of landlords. And see, if you're going to transition from tenant to landlord, that is not just a financial transition. That is not simply a physical transition. That is a psychological transition. And so God will always process you before he positions you. And that's why God could make a promise to Abraham at 75 that wouldn't get fulfilled until he was 100. Why? Because he had to endure the process. And this is why Jesus said to his disciples, follow me and I will make you. I'll make you fishers of men. That involves a making process. And so when a person suffers from this entitlement syndrome, they'll do virtually anything to avoid the process, to ignore the process, because they abhor process, because they feel entitled to the end, to the promise. They feel entitled to the prize, and therefore are ready to ignore the process. I wish I had some help in here. So let's go through the remaining 6. So, expecting special treatment. Individuals with an entitlement mentality often believe they deserve preferential treatment or special privileges compared to others. They may feel that they should receive more attention, rewards, opportunities, simply because of who they are or what they believe they deserve. Now, you may believe today that you deserve preferential treatment, special privileges, or that you should receive more attention or more rewards. And if your feeling is based on the work that you have put in and the process that you have endured and the level of value that you're able to begin to deliver, that is not entitlement. Entitlement is where, in exchange for nothing, in exchange for simply existing, you believe that you deserve preferential treatment, special privileges, that you should receive more attention, rewards, and opportunities, and it's simply based on the fact that you exist. It's not based on contribution that you've made. It's not based on sacrifice, discipline, diligence. It's not based on productivity. It's based on simply existing. That is an entitlement mentality. Number 2 is the lack of gratitude. So people with this mentality may struggle to express gratitude or acknowledge the efforts of others. Why would they struggle to say thank you? Why would they struggle to appreciate? Because in their mind, you owe it to them anyway. In their mind, it's the least you could do. So you go out of your way to help someone who doesn't even say thank you. That's entitlement. I think we've all experienced holding a door open for someone who just walked straight through it and didn't even look back to say thank you. As if you work for them, as if they are entitled to the open door. Well, guess what, my friend? Nobody owes you anything. You are not entitled to that open door. You earn it. You work for it. You make it happen. You don't sit there expecting others to make it happen for you. And this lack of gratitude is really coming from an entitled mentality where a person feels like whatever you do for them, you should have done for them anyway. You owe them, and it's the least that you could do. How repugnant is that way of thinking? Now, blaming others. So when things don't go as expected, individuals with an entitlement mentality may blame others rather than taking responsibility for their own actions or circumstances. They often see themselves as victims of unfair treatment rather than considering their role in the situation. So classically, the entitled person is late for a meeting. And when they show up 15, 20 minutes late for a meeting, they still expect the meeting to be going ahead as planned, right? It's part of their entitlement psychology. But secondly, the reason they were late is because the traffic. There was a traffic jam. The traffic was slow and someone else's fault and someone else did something. Now, they don't stop to consider that actually I could have checked the traffic report earlier that day. I could have made allowances for the possibility that traffic would be heavy. I could have left a little earlier. I could have plotted another route. I could have been there on time. And so therefore, they take responsibility for the fact that they were late. They don't blame the traffic. They don't blame others. They blame themselves. And they don't fully expect that this meeting's going to go ahead anyway. Their mindset is, look, I'm going to keep on going. I've made a big mistake here, and I'm going to hope that they'll still see me. Very humble attitude, but it is the opposite of the entitlement mentality, the entitlement syndrome. All right, let's get through these. Here's another one, unrealistic expectations. They may have unrealistic expectations about what they should receive or achieve. And that word should, oh my, that word should is the word that you want to systematically eliminate from your internal vocabulary. You want to systematically eliminate it because it is the source of much unhappiness. It's the source of much discontent. It is the source of much frustration. It is the source of much aggravation and anxiety. Because of all these things that we believe should be happening, all of these things we believe people should do for us, all these things that we expect with no grounds or basis for expecting them. So actually, these are unrealistic expectations. And they could include expecting to receive rewards or benefits without putting in the necessary effort or meeting the required standards. So the entitled person has a set of expectations of people around them, whether it's a personal relationship, a professional relationship, a business relationship. They have expectations of others that are unrealistic. No one has to do that. No one is obliged to do that. And yet you're there expecting them to do it. It's unrealistic. You certainly don't do it for others. It's unrealistic to expect it to be done for you. So we go to resistance to authority. Those with an entitlement mentality might resist rules, guidelines, or authority figures that they feel restrict their personal desires or expectations. They may see such structures as obstacles to their entitlement, and rather than as necessary for fairness or order. So for the entitled person, traffic lights, are they're for others. They're not for me. The rules apply to others, but not to me. The entitled person will attend your event and absolutely ignore any protocols around the event. They'll ignore any protocols around how to interact with the speaker. They'll ignore the protocols of the greeters and the seaters. They literally feel like the rules are for others. They are not for me. Now, where's that coming from? It's coming from an entitlement syndrome and mentality where you have simply failed to grow up. I wish I had some help in here today. You have failed to grow up. And I've got a picture here of a child throwing a temper tantrum. Got a picture of a child throwing a temper tantrum because the fact is that we are all born into a world and into the experience of everything being done for us without us having to merit anything. So we're born into that. We're born into, an experience where our mother is comforting us, is feeding us, is changing us, is helping us, is supporting us, and everything is about us. Now, what's supposed to happen is that you go through stages of physical and psychological maturation to where you grow out of childhood and into what the Bible calls sonship. You grow out of the infant stage where you are dependent entirely on the attention, the love, the support of another, and you grow to become the person who can provide that sort of support and attention for others. But if you fail to grow up, okay, if your psychological maturation is stunted, then you become the big baby in the room. The big baby in the room. And you have expectations of society that little babies have of their mothers, okay? You have the same expectations of colleagues, clients, customers, suppliers in business that a little baby has of their mother. You have the same expectations in personal relationships. Why? Because you have failed to grow up. And the hallmark of your immaturity is your utter irresponsibility. I wish I had some help in here. The hallmark of your immaturity is your irresponsibility. And the hallmark of maturity is responsibility, assumed responsibility. So we are supposed to grow from being completely irresponsible to becoming totally responsible for our outcomes in life, for our ventures and projects and initiatives in life, for our relationships in life, for our successes in life, for our failures in life, for our victories and our defeats. The mature person assumes responsibility and says, I am responsible for this. But the immature person goes through life believing that others are responsible for their successes or failures, for their victories or defeats. And so what happens is, when you don't get your own way, when you're a big baby and you don't get your own way, you end up throwing temper tantrums. And temper tantrums are symptomatic of the entitlement syndrome. So when the child decides, right, I'm going to scream and roll on the floor, and I'm going to shake and rattle and roll until I get what I want, okay? We instinctively know that this is a behavior that the child must grow out of in order to integrate and participate in society as an adult. We know they must grow out of this. And smart parents don't tolerate it. They don't reward it. But some parents, unfortunately, do go ahead and reward temper tantrums. So what happens to this child, right, is that because the temper tantrum is rewarded, they fail to mature or to grow to the place where they can integrate properly into society, because they grow up and begin to throw more dangerous adult temper tantrums, okay? Now, I could really dive into this, but there's a lot of dysfunction and evil in the world. A lot of dysfunction and evil perpetrated in the world by big babies. I wish I had some help in here today. There's a lot of evil, dysfunction, wickedness in the world perpetrated by great big babies, entitled mindsets who feel entitled to immediate attention, immediate relief gratification, immediate solutions, and they're going to act out and act up until someone pays attention. Now, there's too much I could go into there, so I'm going to pause, but I'm going to say, look, that resistance to authority, that's symptomatic of the entitlement syndrome. Finally, it's the lack of empathy. A lack of empathy towards others' situations or struggles is common in people that have the entitlement mentality. Individuals with this mentality might be focused on their own needs and desires to the extent that they fail to recognize or care about the needs and contributions of others. So that lack of empathy means that because I am obsessed with myself, I am not able to appreciate what it cost you to even assist me. Okay? So if you help, if you assist, if you do something that you didn't need to do, I'm unable to appreciate, what that cost you. And often if we, the person with the entitlement mindset that sees someone winning, someone on top, someone succeeding, someone prospering, they don't actually realize, they are unable to process the fact that this person is winning in public because of sacrifices and disciplines that they practiced in private. Like this person that is phototropically growing towards the sun with branches, leaves, and fruit. They fail to appreciate that in order to experience phototropical growth, right, the growth towards the sun, they first had to endure the gravitropical growth of roots going deep down into the ground. That actually the infrastructure of their success is entirely hidden. It happened in darkness. It happened at night. It happened with sweat. It happened with tears. It happened as they endured disappointment, frustration, setbacks, sabotage, betrayal, abandonment. All of that goes on behind the scenes for the person that is visibly and publicly successful. But when you have an entitlement mindset, you seem to think you should be able to drive the same car they drive. You should be able to live in the same kind of house they live in. You should be able to wear the same kind of clothes or have the same sorts of accessories or have the same sorts of financial freedoms that they have, when you are completely oblivious to the true cost of public success. The true cost of public success is private sacrifice. And that lack of empathy is symptomatic and evidence of an entitled mentality. Let's look at the 10 lepers. According to Luke 17, verses 11 through 19, Jesus healed 10 lepers. 10 lepers. Now, what was a leper? A leper was a person that had leprosy. It's a physical disease, and it was a contagious disease. It was an incapacitating disease, and it served in the ancient world to exclude, to alienate, and to marginalize the leper from mainstream society. So the leper was excluded. The leper was dependent on the generosity of others. The leper was frightening to others because of the contagious nature of the disease. And so the lepers weren't just suffering physically, they were suffering socially, financially, psychologically, emotionally. In every conceivable way, the lepers were suffering, and they came to Jesus, or Jesus came to them and said, "Go show yourselves to the priest." Now, what does "go show yourself to the priest" mean? It meant that in the ancient world and in the culture and the civic laws that governed Israel, a priest and a priest only could declare you clean from leprosy. Okay, so if you believed that you'd been healed, that was not enough for you to integrate into society. A priest had to declare you clean, had to examine you and declare you clean. So Jesus said to these 10 lepers, go show yourselves to the priests. In other words, I've just healed you. Go and get it verified, certified by a priest. It'd be the modern day equivalent of someone being healed from a paralysis or from a disease, and Jesus saying, now go to the doctor and get a certificate of good health. Let the doctor verify the fact that you are healed. Back then it was the priest. So they walked by faith and they obeyed the instruction. And as they went, the leprosy was cleansed. In other words, they had to walk by faith. They had to walk on his word. But as they went, the leprosy was cleansed. And by the time they got to the priest, they were completely free of any symptoms, any signs of any leprosy. They were totally healed. Such is the power of his word. Such is the power of believing and trusting his word. Such is the power of acting on the word. They were totally healed. However, 10 healed, 2 attitudes. There was one, just one, that returned to find Christ and to thank him for changing his life entirely. Only one. 9 never came back to say thank you. The one who returned realized that Jesus didn't have to heal him. He didn't feel entitled. He was therefore grateful. And he couldn't sleep until he'd found Jesus to say, Jesus, thank you. But 9 of them, that's the vast majority of them, said, wow, look at that, we're healed. Let's go. Let's get into society. Let's get a job. Let's get married. Let's have a family. Let's go do some great things that ordinary people can do. And they absolutely forgot. They forgot the goodness and the grace of Christ. The 9 who didn't return felt entitled and became ungrateful. Entitled minds. So here's the lesson from the 10 lepers. Entitled minds simply use others for personal gain and then forget them when they are no longer of utility. That, my friends, is sad, but true. When you're dealing with an entitled person, no matter what good you do for them, it is quickly forgotten because you were simply a step in a direction they were trying to go, that they believed that they deserved to go. You were simply a tool. You were of utility to them. And they lack the ability to form meaningful relationships because everyone owes them anyway, and everyone is simply a step in a direction. That will ruin your relationships and absolutely sabotage your success. So we get now to the dangers of entitlement, and I've put one of my favorite quotes right here. It is that life is God's gift to me. What I do with it is my gift to him. Okay? And so I feel indebted to God. I don't feel like God is indebted to me. I feel like I owe God everything. I don't feel like God owes me anything. And that's very different to the person that has an entitlement mentality because they feel that they owe God, they owe life nothing. Life owes them everything. Total difference. But you see, for me, life is God's gift to me. God has already given me life. Wow. So what I do with my life is my gift to him, and it's my way of thanking him for the gift he gave to me. Now, there are dangers, like the entitlement syndrome is dangerous. It's dangerous because, one, It is evidence of an external locus of control. Now, we dealt with the locus of control in a previous session, but it is this idea in psychology that there are two kinds of people, basically. And when it comes to success and winning in life and progress, particularly economic progress, the people who are most likely to succeed, they have an internal locus of control. This means the locus is the location. It's this phrase used in psychology to describe the location of control. So where is the control? Who's in control? Person who has an internal locus of control believes that decisions I make, choices I make, attitudes I possess, work that I put in is going to determine the outcomes of my life. Okay? The person with an external locus of control believes that success or failure depends on forces and factors outside themselves and beyond their control. So if I'm going to win in life, it's because the government, the system, my parents, friends, colleagues either helped or didn't help. That's why I'm either winning or losing. So your locus of control, the location of control for you is outside yourself. But when the locus of control is internal, then you begin to realize that whether the system helps me or not, my choices are going to determine my chances. My choices are going to, and my beliefs and my decisions and my behavior is what's going to determine whether I win or lose. Not the system, okay? But me. So when a person is entitled, their locus of control is external, and people, this has been broken down to a science. Like you're most likely to fail so long as your locus of control is external. Because this goes on to number 2, what makes this so dangerous, and it makes you a master of excuses. You have a degree in excuse mastery. You have a PhD in excuse mastery. You are creative and innovative and excellent in the arena of excuses. So entitled people have an excuse for failure, for defeat, for retreat. And the reason is always someone else or something else. Number 3, anger and resentment. The entitled mind is fixated on the word should. They believe that things should be different. They believe that things should be different if, is what it should say. You can see some spelling issues there, some typo issues. They believe things should be different and would be different if others would do what they're supposed to do. If people do their thing, then things should be different. And if things are not different because people are not doing what they need to do, because society isn't the way it is, because I never had the education I should have had, because I never had the kind of parents, the upbringing that I should have had, because I never had these things, that's why I am where I am. That leads to anger. You're angry at others. You're angry at the system. You're resentful. And that anger and that resentment becomes the chip on your shoulder that bleeds into every fiber of your personality, and that ultimately ruins every relationship and makes it very difficult for you to attract the kinds of people that really could constitute open doors, invitations into arenas of greatness and opportunity and favor, because that anger repels wealth and it destroys relationships. Number 4, waiting for others to pay a debt they don't owe you. Dangerous. You're waiting for others to pay a debt they don't owe you. And because you're waiting, the entitled mind loses time, misses opportunities, because it assumes that someone is coming to the rescue. The world doesn't owe you anything. It doesn't owe you anything. The world owes me nothing. God owes me nothing. God has already given to me everything that pertains to life and godliness. God has given me life. God has given me new life. God has given me eternal life. God has settled my sin debt forever. God, what else does God owe me? Actually, it's me that owes him, okay? And so when you start thinking in terms of people owing you, then you're waiting. And while you're waiting, you're losing time and you're missing opportunities. All right, let's look at this properly, more deeply. How entitlement blocks your blessings. I'll go through this quickly. Check this out. How exactly does entitlement block your blessings? Number one, blindness. Entitlement blinds you to the little things that make a big difference. See, when someone feels entitled, they actually fail to appreciate little things. And the truth is, it's little things that make the big difference in your life. You know, keys don't look like the doors they open, and seeds don't look like the harvest that they yield. If God is bringing big things into your life, he'll do it by giving you the little things that are the keys and the seeds to producing those big things. But if you fail to appreciate little things, or you're blind to the value of little things, then you never experience a big difference, because it's these little things that make the big difference. I think you all, you may have had the misfortune of giving someone a birthday present or a Christmas present that they looked at it, looked at the cost, looked at the price, looked at the brand, and felt like, what's this? What is this? This cheap, inexpensive item. You want to give me this as a birthday present or as a Christmas present. And they've rejected your kindness. And you know how you feel when people are ungrateful. You know how you feel. Okay? Let's be honest about it. We can be honest. There's no one here but us and the world that may look at this 100 years from now. There's no one here but us. So let's be honest. When you give someone something and they are ungrateful, what do you want to do? Instinctively, you want to take it back. Instinctively, you regret ever giving it to them. Instinctively, you feel like that's the last gift you will ever get from me. Now, when you are entitled, you are blind to little things that make a big difference. You're unable to appreciate little deposits, and yet it's these little deposits that are going to determine your greater destiny. So it blocks your blessing. Number two, it makes you work adverse, right? So the entitled mind is adverse and opposed to the work or the inputs necessary to secure the best outcomes. You're always trying to bypass the process. You're always trying to live beyond the rules. You're always trying to jump the queue, the line. You're always trying to get away with it, to get around something. And unfortunately, the best outcomes in life are on the other side of a process. The best outcomes in life are on the other side of a process. And so you may have been led to believe that there are some people who bypassed the process and got the prize. And that's become your role model. You want to bypass the process and get the prize. Yeah, but those people typically end up failing drugs tests. Those people typically end up spending their gains on riotous living, wasting everything and having nothing to show for it in the end. Those people may look like they're temporarily winning, but fundamentally they are lifelong losers because they haven't endured the process. Number three is wrong altitude. That's your height. The entitled mind is operating at the wrong altitude. Do you know what the right altitude is for success? It's gratitude. Gratitude is the attitude that gives you altitude in the business of life. And when you are ungrateful, you are operating at such a low level, you are more of a serpent than you are a dove. You're operating at the lowest levels when you are ungrateful, living an ungrateful life. And in fact, that ungrateful life opens the door to other disorders, okay? Psychological disorders. Sometimes depression is rooted in an ungrateful attitude. Sometimes anxiety is rooted in an ungrateful attitude. And that's why one songwriter said, count your blessings, name them one by one. It will surprise you what the Lord has done. Actually, if you want to have a good day, if you want to have a great day, then start the day with gratitude. Start the day grateful for waking up. Start the day grateful for everyone you know and love that knows and loves you. Grateful for opportunity, for capacity, for strength, for health, for whatever it is you believe God has gifted you with on this morning. Practice gratitude. Count those blessings, name them one by one, and this will give you an altitude, right, by which you can experience a very successful day. Now, I'm going to start to close with this. The foolish virgins in Matthew 25, the parable of the 10 virgins, which were bridesmaids, okay? And, according to the traditional Jewish wedding, the bridesmaids, waited for the bridegroom. It's not like today in modern Western weddings where everyone's waiting for the bride. Back then, they were waiting for the groom. And there was no knowledge as to when the groom would arrive. They simply had to be ready. So Jesus used this to illustrate something about his return, something about his coming, and something about the attitudes that block blessings, prohibit progress, sabotage success, ruin relationships, and derail destinies. Here's what he said. And the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Wow and wow. I want to tell you that reading is absolutely loaded with lessons and packed with principles. It is rich in revelation. That reading right there. So notice the utterance of the fool. The utterance of the fool is, give us. Give us. Watch this. That's called something for nothing. It's called something for nothing thinking, which is an entitlement mentality. Give us of your oil. Give us some of your oil. Because our lamps have gone out. And we're entitled, right? So we just give it to us. But because of that entitlement mentality, they were unable to appreciate the process that produced success for the wise. They didn't value the process. They undermined the process. They wanted to bypass the process. So what was the process that produced success for the wise? We see it in the passage. But the wise answered, saying, not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but go rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. So what was the process? We went and we bought the oil that we would need. We bought it. Okay? You want me to give you something that I paid for. That's an entitlement mindset. Okay? If I paid for it, if I bought it, who are you to expect me to give it to you? That's entitlement as a mindset. It ruins relationships. It really does. The moment that they said, give us your oil, it ruined a relationship. Why? Because the wise said not so. See, because if you're wise, you're going to have to say no. If you're wise, you're going to have to say no to some people who expect you to say yes because they feel entitled. And when you say no, that's going to create turbulence in that relationship. Because these kinds of people will forever blame you as to why they were shut out of the wedding, as to why they missed their moment, as to why they missed their opportunity. Who are they blaming? You, the wise. You are to blame. But Jesus is very clear here that you are the fool who failed to anticipate what you might need, who failed to practice the process that would produce results for you. You are the fool that wanted to jump the line, be above the rules, felt entitled to special treatment, felt like others owed you something that they paid for personally. And according to Jesus, in this parable, the whole context of the parable, you were not shut out because the wise said no. You were shut out because you were a fool. Wow and wow. That's just way too deep. That's way too much. Sometimes, Mr. Wise Person, you are going to have to say no to somebody who wants you to give them what you had to buy. You're going to have to say no and risk offending relatives. You know, I was in a mastermind recently and I heard this powerful phrase that success is relative. It really means that the more success you have is the more relatives are suddenly going to appear. But see, if you're wise, you're going to say no and point people to the process. No, go to the process. No, pay the price. No, I'm not giving you what it cost me to buy. Okay? What I had to buy. You know, Jesus said, freely if you receive, freely give. You know that? Right, so if you got it free, you give it free. But if you bought it, according to Jesus, don't give it away, because by giving it away, you're endorsing and reinforcing an entitlement syndrome that ultimately blocks blessings, prohibits prosperity, sabotages success, ruins relationships, and derails destinies. The antidote for entitlement is to make the shift from getting to becoming. You know, when the prodigal son was leaving home, he had a give me mindset. Give me my inheritance. Give me my inheritance now. Give me my inheritance now. That's a give me mindset. He was obsessed and focused on what he could get out of life. But when he returned, when he came back, he wasn't saying, give me anything, because he didn't feel entitled to anything. He came back and he instead said, make me as a hired servant, make me. See, that make me mindset is the best mindset because it's obsessing and focusing on what I'm becoming, not simply on what I'm getting. See, you can get some stuff without becoming, but you can't become without getting. And to God be the glory. What a great session we've had. Now, do not leave until you watch this video. Why? Because it's this week. It's happening this week. This very Saturday, I'm teaching the masterclass on the new way to wealth, the new path to prosperity, how to convert your name into an income-generating asset. It's going to be epic.
Hi there. Bishop Wayne Malcolm is known as the business bishop who works with kingdom entrepreneurs, professionals, influencers, and creators alike to increase their social influence and to monetize their personal brands. But why is that important? It's important because this is now the fastest way to wealth and the new path to prosperity. As you know, there currently exists a growing deficit of trust between buyers and sellers. We now prefer to buy from the people we know, like, and trust. Becoming known, liked, and trusted in your field will do more to increase your sales and take your business to the next level. This is now possible for anyone because digital territory is now affordable. Digital tools are now available. Digital sales are now universal. There are 4 steps to becoming known, liked, and trusted enough for people to choose you and your services over a cold, faceless, and impersonal brand. 1. Focus on your own field of fun, favor, and fortune. That is, your area of excellence, expertise, and personal experience. 2. Establish your visibility, credibility, and authority in that field. This means becoming a celebrity in your circle and a big name in your game. 3. Make your own market. Create a unique niche, attract the right audience, and take over a digital territory. 4. Populate your field with products and services, offers and opportunities, events and experiences. Once you have a committed crowd and a faithful following, you will become a key person of influence and a trusted name in the game. This elite masterclass and its associated self-study resources will show you exactly how to perform each of these steps. The name Equity Secrets is a masterclass on the new way to wealth. A link for more details or to purchase your ticket is in the description below this video. Don't miss it for anything. Sign up today and you'll thank me later.
Hey there, entrepreneurs! If you enjoy the teachings of Bishop Wayne Malcolm, I've got something amazing for you. Introducing the New Breed Community, an exclusive online platform for kingdom-conscious entrepreneurs, professionals, investors, and creators. This isn't just a community, it's a movement where we discuss and explore kingdom concepts. Here, kingdom-minded people connect, share, learn, and grow together. Inside, you'll find exclusive content from Bishop Wayne Malcolm, including special sessions just for members. And the best part? It's free to join. The New Breed Community sits on the Heartbeat platform, where Bishop Wayne Malcolm is excited to meet you online. Join us for weekly Q&A sessions with Bishop Wayne, and get exclusive insights that can transform your life. Love to read? Join our book club to feed your mind and spirit. Got a prayer request? Post it and let's lift each other up. Have a testimony? Share how God's goodness is shining in your life. We're more than just a community, we're a movement. Discover the powerful relationship between your profession and your purpose. Join us now on the Heartbeat platform. Connect with us and let's grow together. Bishop Wayne Malcolm and the New Breed Community are waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? Hit that join button and step into a world of connection and growth. A warm welcome awaits you. See you on the inside.